So I am Velma from Chris Family Farm, and today I'm going to show you how to make a pleat. So first what you're going to do is, after you sew your fabrics together, I have to remake these pleats. You have to iron it. You want to make sure it's ironed flat. And you also want to make sure that your opening is closed together, and you want to make sure those are even so that when you sew you don't have a little pink of the peach of the thread or fabric on the other side showing. Okay, so once you have all of your fabrics, and we're gonna have to redo a whole bunch of pleats here. Make sure everything's ironed nice and flat. Okay. Let me set this over out of the way. Now, this is how I make my pleats. So I line it up to a line. The top of my mask is going to go to the top of this line here. Okay. Now, you see each square equals an inch, okay? So I'm going to bring my thumb right here to this one, and over here we're going to go 2 inches down. So 1, 2, place your thumb on the opposite side of the line. See, I'm going to put my thumb on this side, not above the 2 inches, behind the 2 inches. So place your thumbs there. Bring your fabric back to where it lines up with this line here. Okay? And you want to smooth everything. Just press it. Now, take your fingers. See where the elastic is? You want to take your index finger and hold that on both sides. And you want to bring it up. And you want to lay this part above that 2-inch line. So you're going to lay that above the 2-inch line. See how that is above the 2-inch line? Okay. Now you do that on both sides. Okay, and then you press it with your fingers. You hold it down and you stick your pins in. You stick that one in, and you double check that your elastic piece, see, this is not, you don't want it like this, because that's too much for your needle to go through. You want to have it right here. Okay, so that is the first pleat. So let's put this one in. Now that you have your pin in, you don't want to take your next one and do this. That is a no-no. Do not do it that way. You want to complement. So complement is you take your finger, you push it down. Let me move the elastic out of the way. You push this down. You see how this is overlapping? You do not want that to overlap. You want it to go next to it. And when you pinch it, it complements itself. Just like when you do a seam allowance, it complements yourself. You do not want this part right here on your elastic down here. Your pleat should look like this. I only do 2 pleats on all of my mask. Then you take your pin and you pin it. And that is it. That is how you do a pleat, guys. It's not hard. So this one, you're going to flip it over. You're going to do the same thing. Complement. We got our pieces complemented. They're not on top of each other. They're not on top of this right here. See, I can get my needle on there and it won't hurt it. It won't break. I've broken needles doing this. I've learned this the hard way. There you go. Once you have this step done, your pleats are all nice and flat. You take your iron and you just press it so that when you're sewing, it looks nice after it's done, and when you're sewing, it gives it a flat feel to it, and it's nice and crisp. It's nice and straight. And that is how you make pleats. And then I'll sew down on the sides. I'll go one, I'll pivot, and I'll sew back up. So when you pivot, your needle is down, you pivot, which you turn your fabric. So I'll make 3 passes, and you back stitch. So you start here, you back stitch, you go down, you pivot, you go back up, you pivot again, come back down here, and you back stitch. So I'll show you guys how I do that. Okay, so now that we're at the sewing machine, let me scoot my chair up here. So I always start with my mask facing outwards. I bring my pressure foot up, and I want to feel. So right here, you know not to put your needle right there because that's really thick. So you position your mask to where you know that that needle is not going to go in that elastic. Okay, so we're going to start, take a couple of stitches, and then you're going to take a couple of back stitches. You sew close to your pin or wherever you feel comfortable, and you take your pin out. Do not sew on the pin because it can break your needle. So get into this one, take that pin out. Now when I get close to this edge here where this other pleat is, I want to go right under that fold. I'll raise my pressure foot up, and then you cut this here. This is called a pivot, which is moving your fabric. Put your foot down, you sew back to the end where you begin. Raise your foot up and pivot back. Sew to the end. Do a couple of back stitches. And that is how I sew my mask. And I'll clip my threads, and I'll put a little fray check on each side. I'll show you a mask that I have finished here. After you sew your sides, you want to sew, and you clip your threads, you pop that open, and there's your mask. Thanks for watching.